mark down the date. The NFL regular season schedule has been released. But before we get into that, we got some news. The Ravens have signed former Steelers offensive tackle Alejandro Villanueva to a 2-year deal worth about $14 million, $8 million guaranteed, meaning that they could front load this thing and this contract, and then next year if they decide, you know what, we're gonna move on, we don't want him anymore, they can, and they pay little to nothing. The Cowboys have released defensive tackle Antoine Wood, who now has signed with the Denver Broncos, as well as cornerback Savion Smith, center Adam Redmond, defensive tackle Walter Palmore, defensive tackle Ladarius Hamilton, and defensive back Keeman Hall. This is expected to happen because you have to get under a 90-man limit to go into camp. That's basically what this is, and it's also a way for the Cowboys to kind of save some money and be able to get some more money out to players that are still available. Frank Ragnow, the offensive lineman for the Detroit Lions, has signed an extension. It's a 4-year deal, $13.5 million APY. $25.5 million in guarantees after signing the contract. Anywhere between $42 and $42.5 million in total guarantees, making him $1 million higher than already the highest offensive lineman contract in LA Chargers center Corey Linsley, who cashed in after coming from Green Bay to go to the Chargers. The Dolphins have decided to release safety Bobby McCain, potentially opening the door for Malik Hooker. This happened because Bobby McCain, who didn't have a terrible year, he had one interception, he had some tackles, the Dolphins have decided to go in a different direction. Now the reason why Malik Hooker was not signed by the Cowboys was they were worried about some health issues over the Achilles injury that he suffered last year, as well as some other nagging injuries, and he doesn't have a very good injury history. That is the reason why they chose Damontae Kazee over Malik Hooker. The Washington football team has signed former offensive tackle for the Bears, Charles Leno, to a 1-year deal with $5 million. This happens after Charles Leno was released by the Bears in a shocking fashion. He played there 7 years, was a cornerstone of that team, but the Bears decided to move on. Charles Leno is a really good offensive lineman. He's big, and you move him around, it's very easy to do so. So I do like the signing of Charles Leno to the Washington football team. Caleb Farley, the rookie for the Tennessee Titans, has signed his rookie contract that gives him $13.495 million fully guaranteed. That's how rookie contracts work. They're not as big as every other person's contracts, or some based off an average, but they're fully guaranteed contracts. That should help you, at least for the meantime. Tim Tebow, moving into the Tim Tebow subject, the Jaguars are planning to sign Tim Tebow to play tight end. So let's get into this. Tim Tebow, 33 years old, never played tight end before, played baseball in the minor league system for the Mets, never got called up, played quarterback for a period of time with the Denver Broncos, the Jets, played in preseason games with the Patriots and the Eagles, hasn't played football in almost a decade, and some players are not happy about this move, like Des Bryant, who went and said, Tim Tebow can go in a game, doesn't have to play football for a decade, doesn't play football for about a decade, and then can just walk in and get a job. And what Des is trying to say is this: these tight ends that are on the streets that are trying to get opportunities, and then here's this guy who said in his whole career when he was in Denver and when he was in New York that he was not going to change, he was going to play quarterback the whole way, and then now he's decided, well, if I get him another opportunity, I'm just going to go play tight end. That's what he's saying. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and you know if he makes the roster, because maybe he doesn't make the roster. Maybe he gets cut off the preseason. Maybe he does make the roster, but he's not on the field. Maybe he's just kind of a locker room guy. Or even if he does get on the field, there's a chance that these guys are going to try and hurt him a little bit. They're going to try to bang him up a little bit, and so it's going to be very interesting. But I can understand why these players are not happy, because you're taking jobs away from tight ends that are on the streets. I understand the reason. It's a very negative reason, but I understand the reason. The Lions have waived Kevion Johnson, a former second-round pick, who we'll get to more in a minute. The Packers potentially could add a quarterback, in which they did so. They had signed Blake Bortles to a one-year contract. But when this report came out that they were going to talk to Blake Bortles, Nick Mullins, RG3, and Matt Barkley. And this is just an easier way. This is like another way for Packers to put pressure on the wound that they've given Aaron Rodgers and just turned it over and over again. Now, moving into this, we have to go into this story, because this story has a lot of truth to it. Did Adam Schefter, ESPN insider Adam Schefter, did he lie about the situation? Yes and no. Yes and no. No, he didn't lie about the situation. Aaron does not. That people have said, according to Ian Rappaport, Jay Glazer, Mike Garafolo, Lockenfora, and a few others, even Mike Tirico, who talked to him when he was doing the Kentucky Derby. Aaron Rodgers was there. They talked off camera. Aaron said, and this is what he said basically, it's not the fans of the reason why I want to leave Green Bay. It's not Green Bay the place. It's not my teammates. It's the front office. So Tirico says there was no rift between him, his teammates, his fans, and the city of Green Bay. There's no problem with that. There's just a problem with him between the front office. That is it. And it's because they have never given him a whole lot to work with, and yet here we want to put this young guy out there, and you're going to go over there. You're going to get put out of the pasture. So, no, he did not lie on that front. He lied because he said that there were sources when there were not. He went on the Dan Patrick show and said there were no sources. This was just an accumulation of time. This is what I heard over a period of time. And I don't agree with that. I think Aaron's a realistic guy, from what I can gather. He's a very realistic guy. He's a realist. He understands that, we don't really know what tomorrow's going to bring. But I look at it this way. I don't have to stay here. I can leave. I can retire. I can get traded. I can go just retire and host Jeopardy if I want to, because I'm going to have a really good chance to get it. And he could probably do it. So, I think if you're Aaron, I don't think it's the problem. I agree with him. I don't think it's the fans. I don't think it's the place. And I don't think it's his teammates. I just think it's the front office for not giving him anything to work with. So I will say that. But it ruined Schefter's credibility, because now people are not going to look for him to verify anything. They're going to look to Rappaport, Mortensen, Glazer, whoever, to verify what he's saying for a period of time. Remember when Glazer said all that stuff about COVID-19 hitting the NFL, and it was a big name player who got it. We all thought Von Miller, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes. We all thought anything, and then he comes out and says, well, it's the backup center for the LA Rams. Kind of a letdown. Like, we don't want anyone to get COVID, but kind of a letdown in terms of all this buildup that you have. So, when everyone else went like, well, who else got $1 million? Okay, we're gonna go hit that. Boom. That's what they did. That's how the media works. So there was a period of time where Glazer was not treated the way he was before, but that went away. Same thing's gonna happen with Schefter. But it ruins it ruins ESPN, it ruins Fox, and it ruins NBC and CBS and all these places because they didn't even talk about it. They just kind of say, oh, we're not going to talk about the Aaron Rodgers thing that much anymore. And that's what they did. Because, now, and granted, Dan Patrick has been in this game for a long time. He's done a lot of great things in this game in terms of the media. For you to go on, and there's no information to what we know, and you go and say there were no sources, this is just an accumulation of time that I heard, and what Aaron was saying, which was very little, and you almost had to translate what he was saying, that just tells me that there was no clear direction to where they were going. So it hurt his credibility, it hurt everyone else's credibility because they didn't talk about it, because you have to understand, when you're in the insider game, when you say something, and you are well respected, everything that you say is pretty much gospel, and everyone believes it. Once you do that, it's gone for a while. It's like if you don't pay your rent, eventually, or you don't pay your car, the bank's going to take your car away. That's what they do. If you don't pay your rent, you're going to get kicked out. You're going to get eviction notices and get kicked out. That's the way it works. This is what this was. And then he said that it just so happened I broke it on draft day? No. We've heard some big draft storylines before the draft. This is just, they did this on the draft because he just decided, I'm going to do it on the draft. When we should be focused on the draftees. On who is getting drafted. That's what we should be focused on, not Aaron Rodgers at this point. But we are, because they wanted to make it that way. So it blew up everything, because no one was, at the end of the night, no one was going to talk about the guys drafted, unless you're an actual NFL fan. They're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Everyone's going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Even if you're an NFL fan, the draftees are going to come second to Aaron's first. That's the way it works. So, it makes Schefter look bad, it makes ESPN look bad, it makes everybody look bad. Because they broke this, and there was no reason. And according to reports, Green Bay didn't want this to get out, Aaron Rodgers didn't want this to get out, and it's just adding more and more to this fire, this dumpster fire that is Green Bay right now. And that is the Packers organization right now. The Eagles, moving on, the Eagles have claimed former Lions running back Kerryon Johnson off waivers. How waivers work is this. I'm a player, I get cut. Same an offensive lineman. I get cut. I'm put on what is called the waiver wire. For 2 days, I'm on the waiver wire. If I get picked up by any team, I have to go there. And I basically, what I had for that team, the previous team, that contract, they give me that same contract. But if I don't, if I get off the waiver wire and no one picks me up yet, I get put in free agency, and I basically just have to take the minimum. And that is a very dangerous thing. So you almost want to be picked up on the waiver wire if you make a lot of money. The Colts have decided to sign former Chiefs offensive tackle Eric Fisher. Eric Fisher, if you remember, tore up his Achilles last year against the game in Buffalo, in the AFC Conference Championship round. Because what happened was, in that game, he tore his Achilles. We don't know if he's going to be healthy, but the Colts feel comfortable with it. If he can be anything like he was last year, or before he had the injury, or even if he's only half as good, I take it as a success. It's a 1-year deal. There's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. But it's only $9.4 million. Usually a guy for him is more than that, so it's a good deal. Tamba Ali, defense of defensive tackle who was with the Chiefs for a long time, has decided to sign a one-day contract and then retire. This is the way people should retire. You should sign with the team that drafted you. The Cowboys did the same thing with Jason Witten. They signed him to a one-year contract. They signed him to a one-day contract and then he retired. Thomas Davis, he was with Carolina all those years. Then he went to Washington, signed a one-day contract, retired. That's the way it should happen in every sport. That's my opinion, but it should happen that way. The Packers have decided to sign Blake Bortles to a one-year contract, as I said, basically just putting salt in the wound of Aaron Rodgers, saying, yeah, we're going to put you in the pasture and we're just going to deal with these guys. Now, moving into, as the schedule was, the regular season schedule for the 2021 campaign was released, we heard some things. The Cowboys and the Bucs, this is set in stone, are facing off week 1 on Thursday night, an 8:30 game, as it's the return of Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys against Tom Brady and the Super Bowl champs, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This game has so much magnitude because Tom Brady will be 44 years old. They'll be putting up a new banner in Raymond James Stadium. And here comes Dak Prescott and the Cowboys. What a media market game. This will be fun to watch. But for the Cowboys schedule, because I did the Cowboys, Bucks, Chiefs, and Patriots schedules, the Cowboys face the Bucks on the 9th of September. That is an 8 o'clock game on NBC. Then the Cowboys go at the Chargers on the 19th of September. That is a 4 o'clock game. Then they go home to face the Eagles on Sunday Night Football on the 27th. Then the Panthers come to town. That will be a 1 o'clock game on the 3rd of October. Then the Giants come to town. That will be a 4 o'clock game, and that will be on the 10th of October. Then the Cowboys go on the road to face the New England Patriots on the 17th of October. That will be a 4 o'clock game. Then they get their bye week. Usually the Cowboys seem to get their bye weeks week 7, week 8, week 9, week 6, or week 10. That's usually their range. And that's what happened again this year. Then, after the bye week, the Cowboys go back on the road on Halloween and face the Vikings at 8:30. Then, they go back home on the 7th of November and face the Broncos at 1 o'clock. Then they stay home and they face the Falcons at 1 o'clock on the 14th of November. Then the Cowboys go back on the road, face the Chiefs. That game is a 4 o'clock game, and that will be the 21st of November. Then they go back home on Thanksgiving, because they play on Halloween this year, and then play on Thanksgiving. That's a tradition, so they're playing on Halloween and Thanksgiving. That is a 4 o'clock game, and they're against the Raiders at home on the 25th of November. Then, the week after, on that Thursday night, because they get the Thursday night game the next week, they play at 8:30 against the Saints on the 2nd of December. Then they play a 1 o'clock game against Washington. Finally, they play Washington, and it starts in December. They don't do it in September. That will be the 12th of December. Then they play New York, in New York, on the 19th of December at 1 o'clock. It's going to be snowy. It's the way football should be, in a snowy, cold environment. Then they go home. They play Washington again at 8:30 in Dallas on the 26th, the day after Christmas. And that's right, they played Washington twice in 3 weeks. Then they stay home on the 2nd of January. They play the Cardinals at 1 o'clock. Then the final week, the Cowboys play at the Eagles in a cold, snowy environment that is the NFL on the 9th of January at 1 o'clock. That is the Cowboys schedule. Now the Bucs schedule. Obviously, the Cowboys go to Tampa to play the Bucs on the 9th of September. That's an 8:30 game. Then they stay home. They play the Falcons on the 19th. That is a 4 o'clock game. Then they go on the road to face the Rams on the 26th of September. That is a 4 o'clock game. Then they go on the road. They stay on the road and they go to New England, the Tom Brady return game on the 3rd of October at an 8:30 game. Then they go back home. They play the Dolphins at 1 o'clock game on the 10th of October. Then they go back on the road. They play at the Eagles on the 14th of October, because it's a Thursday night game at 8:30. Then they go back home, play the Bears on the 24th, a 4 o'clock game. Then the Bucs go on the road again and play the Saints on Halloween. That is a 4 o'clock game. They get their bye week, week 9. The Bucs then stay on the road, go back on the road. They go play Washington on the 14th of November at 1 o'clock. Then they go back home, play the New York Giants on the 22nd of November. That is a 8:30 game. Then they go back on the road. They play the Colts on the 28th. That is a 1 o'clock game. Then the Bucs stay on the road. They go against the Falcons on the 5th of December. Then the is a 1 o'clock game as well. The Bills go at the Bucs. The Bucs go back home. They face the Bills on the 12th of December. That's a 4 o'clock game. Then the Saints come to town on the 19th of December. That is an 8 o'clock game. Then the Bucs go back on the road. They face the Panthers. That's right. They face the Panthers in late December for the first time. At the Panthers on the 26th, the day after Christmas. That is a 1 o'clock game.